Hello, profilers!
It's time for our weekly rendezvous.
This is the podcast where we share true stories of French crimes.
So, today, what is the story?
Today's case is about an affluent French family who seem perfectly normal up until the moment somebody very important goes missing. This is the case of the disappearing jogger.
Enjoy the story.
Friday, October 27th, 2017.
The story takes place in the small town of Gray, in the French region of Haute-Saône. Isabelle and Jean-Pierre Fouillot decide to organize a raclette party for the family. Stephanie and Alexia, their two daughters, as well as their respective husbands, Gregory and Jonathan, come together to eat this traditional French meal. It's an ordinary evening. Everyone is happy and everything is going well. Alexia and Jonathan return home around 11 p.m. The next morning, Saturday, October 28th, at around 9:30 a.m., Alexia gets ready for her jog, as she normally does. Before leaving, the young woman sends a message to her sister, Stephanie.
Hey, I'm off for a run, and I'll come and see you afterwards if I can. Kisses. Around 11 a.m., 2 hours after leaving for a run, Alexia still hadn't returned home. Her husband, very worried, told his in-laws that he couldn't find his wife. He looked for her, retraced her route, but nothing. According to him, it's not like her to leave for so long. About 3 hours after her departure, Jonathan, still very worried, decided to act and went to the Gray National Police Station to report the disappearance of his wife, 29-year-old Alexia Daval. He explains that she had gone out for a run that morning, without money or her telephone. But this is out of the ordinary for her. Jonathan declares that Alexia has no reason to disappear, which makes him terribly worried. The police take the statement very seriously, especially as there have been several murders in France in recent months, notably of female joggers. According to her family and husband, Alexia has no reason to disappear. She's an account manager in a bank, a bubbly, energetic, cheery woman with plans to have children. She's close to her husband, and above all, to her parents. There is nothing to suggest that Alexia wanted to flee or end her life. The police therefore rule out suicide.
With the help of her husband, the police retrace Alexia's steps. He tells them about the previous evening's racquet party, which went off without a hitch. Alexia played a lot with her nephew, Stephanie and Gregory's son. At around 11 p.m., they left his in-laws' house, went home, watched a bit of TV, and went to bed. The next morning, they woke up at 8:30 a.m., and Alexia went for a jog. The police asked Jonathan if she was angry when she left, if they had had a fight. Did anyone want to hurt her? Has anyone threatened her? He would answer no to all these questions. With her husband's description, the public prosecutor calls for witnesses. She was wearing bright pink running shoes, a red jacket, black shorts. She wears red glasses. She has medium-length, dirty blonde hair.
From that moment on, the search for Alexia began, and major resources are deployed. Many people in the town of Gray are on the lookout for the young girl. Her mother, Isabelle Fouillot, is a town councilwoman, while her father, Jean-Pierre, owns a PMU, a local betting shop where people come to bet on horses. Alexia's family appealed to the kidnappers through Isabelle. If he had an ounce of humanity, he'd think Alexia has a life. She has a job. She has friends, colleagues. She has her family. We're all waiting for her. I'd like him to give her back to us. Despite all the means deployed, Alexia is nowhere to be found.
2 days after her disappearance, the police would make a terrible discovery. A body was discovered in the forest, very well hidden and quite far from the place described by her husband, since it was some 10 kilometers away. The body is covered in a partially burnt white sheet, lying on its back and also partially burned. Wearing shorts, pink running shoes and glasses, the corpse could well be Alexia. The forensic police were hard at work on the crime scene. But what intrigues the investigators is the position of the body, as if she were resting in peace, as if she were respected. The murderer tried to make the partially burnt body disappear. These are the initial findings of the forensic police. They also noted a tire track not far from the body and a white plastic cap placed under the corpse.
However, with this new discovery, the first problem in this investigation arises. A journalist learns that Alexia's body has potentially been found and threatens to spread the news. This means that the suspect or suspects will be informed via the media that the body has been found, preventing the investigators from doing their job properly, since this would affect the police's ability to wiretap and analyze the behavior of possible suspects. The prosecutor asks the journalist for an extension while he breaks the news to Alexia's family. He summons her parents and husband to tell them the terrible news. The body found is indeed that of Alexia Daval.
According to the initial investigation, the murderer could well be from Gray or the surrounding area, as the murderer had to know the area well to leave the body where it was found. Remember that Gray is a small town of just 5,000 inhabitants. The residents are worried. Everyone is very, very afraid. The people of Gray lay thousands of roses in front of Alexia's father's betting bar. There's a sense of solidarity among the residents. 3 days after the discovery of Alexia's body, her parents and husband appear before journalists for the first time. Emotions running high, it's Isabelle who takes the floor.
We'd like to thank everyone who has rallied to support us. That's why we've decided to pay tribute to Alexia by organizing a solidarity march that will take place this Sunday, November 5th, with dignity and respect. A week after Alexia's death, a jog was organized in Gray, led by her husband Jonathan. The following day, several solidarity marches were organized all over the rest of France. It was during this period that the debate on violence against women was rekindled and became more and more frequent in the country. Alexia became a symbol for the fight against assault on women throughout France. A huge crowd turned out to support Alexia's family at this solidarity march organized in Gray, with some 10,000 people present, twice the population of Gray. Alexia's parents and her husband led the procession, hand in hand. This tragedy has only strengthened the bond between them. During the day, Jonathan breaks down several times, his face ravaged with tears. He then addresses the entire crowd from a podium, using a microphone. It's the first time he's spoken in public. His voice and hands trembling, and his breathing difficult. Barely able to stand, his father-in-law accompanies him to the microphone, holding him by the arm.
Alexia loved swimming and running, a passion that brought us together, both in the effort and in the growth of our relationship. She was my first supporter, my oxygen, the force that pushed me to surpass myself in my physical challenges. I miss this fulfillment terribly. We drew from each other's gazes, our exchanges, the energy we needed to go further together. A few days later, at Alexia's funeral, Jean-Pierre Fouillot was very close to his son-in-law, holding his hand like a man would hold his son's hand, protecting him and taking him in his arms. He declares during the ceremony, "I wish every girl would meet a man like Jonathan, and that all women would have a son-in-law like him." He had clearly been adopted by Alexia's family. Isabelle and Jean-Pierre Fouillot even went as far to declare, "He is like our own son." During this period, Jonathan didn't return home to live with his mother. He moved into his in-laws' house. When the first autopsy report arrives, it becomes crucial to the investigation. We learn that Alexia had been beaten and strangled, but that there was no trace of sexual violence. And for the police, this report closed a lot of doors, in particular sexual predators. The murderer could well be someone close to Alexia.
The police then considered it a crime of passion. What if Alexia was leading a double life? By questioning Alexia's friends and family, the investigators made a discovery that sent them to a new lead. A neighbor of the young couple had taken a lot of interest in Alexia, even going as far as harassing her for several weeks already. She refused his advances. The neighbor was interviewed by the police, but the lead was quickly closed, as he had a very strong alibi. The investigation slowed down. It wasn't moving forward. The list of potential suspects dwindled, and the police didn't have enough proof to find the killer. On January 28th, 2018, 3 months after Alexia's murder, a new twist in this case that no one expected emerges. Jonathan Daval is taken in for questioning by the police, and the couple's home is searched. The French public are stunned. No one understands what's going on. No one can even imagine that he's involved in this story. Despite Jonathan's arrest, Alexia's family gives him their full support, totally convinced of his innocence. Once again, Jonathan Daval's lawyers don't believe in their client's guilt either.
However, Over the last 3 months, investigators have been gathering evidence to accuse the husband. No one was aware of the investigators' progress in this case. Not the family, not the journalist, not the lawyers, no one. From the beginning, the police had doubts about Jonathan's innocence, particularly during the initial hearings.
The young man had cooperated, as he told them about the difficulties he had encountered in his relationship. Alexia was taking hormone treatments as she was unable to have children. He also talked about his personal problems, such as erectile dysfunction and other intimate details. According to his statement, Alexia had violent outbursts, abusing and bullying him. But one thing struck the investigators at the time. They saw marks on Jonathan's body, traces that may confirm his statement that he was a beaten man, but may also show that there had been a struggle with Alexia. But why did the investigators have real doubts about this famous husband? Remember that Jonathan was questioned twice by the police, and in both statements, they found discrepancies. The first discrepancy concerned his schedule. He declared that he had run several times along the same route as his wife. During the reconstruction, the police realized that the times the husband had given did not correspond. As further evidence, a neighbor of the Daval couple explained to the police that at 1:26 a.m., he had been awakened by a noise he knew well, since it was the sound of a metal plate in front of the house, and whenever the car passes over it, the plate moves and makes a sound. The neighbor added that he stood at the window and saw Jonathan's SUV pull into the garage, and at that moment he thought, "Look, they're coming home at 1:26 a.m.?" Yet Jonathan declared to the police,
"We had dinner at my in-laws' house. We came back home between 11:30 and midnight, and we didn't go back out after. Not Alexia, nor me."
except that his in-laws' house was only 10 kilometers from their house. They should have arrived home around midnight or 10 past. This version doesn't match the one the neighbor told the police. Another witness then comes forward, confirming the officer's suspicions, Jonathan Daval's boss. Jonathan is an IT specialist and owns a white company van fitted with a tracking device. The tracker revealed that the vehicle was in use around 1 a.m. Jonathan Daval is lying. The police don't directly accuse the young man, but try to understand, affirm, or confirm what he says. Just as the evidence was mounting against Jonathan, French profilers were also casting doubt on his innocence. They pointed out that the corpse had been carefully placed in the forest. Alexia is wearing her glasses, her hands are in her pockets, and she is covered with a sheet. According to the experts, this is a gesture of making amends, a way of saying, "Forgive me." The experts establish a connection between the victim and her assailant because, as they always say, an assailant who didn't know his victim wouldn't take the time to care for her after death. Several autopsy reports arrive, and they too reveal things that go against Jonathan Daval. The autopsy revealed no point of impact, and an X-ray of the body confirmed that she had not been hit by a car. The body shows hematomas, blows to the face and back, and upturned fingernails. Everything suggests that she had fought with her assailant. The coroner notes that she died by manual strangulation. He discovered several small burns on the front of the body, from the feet to the head, as if someone had tried several times to start a fire unsuccessfully. He declares that there was no sexual assault, further affirming the theory that she knew her attacker. According to the profilers, when you attack someone's face, you're dealing with emotions, rage, and anger. The police then focused on the victim's husband, Jonathan, who day after day was overwhelmed by further evidence against him. They decided to tap Jonathan's phone.
In another surprising detail, Jonathan's speech, the one he gave a few days before the Solidarity March, is analyzed. A few people are puzzled by this speech, notably when he quotes, "She was my oxygen," knowing that Alexia had been asphyxiated. Was this a clumsy mistake? Or did Jonathan mention this word on purpose?
From that moment on, the journalists, along with the police and a few local residents, began to have doubts about whether Jonathan himself had orchestrated the whole thing.
Thank you for watching our video.
We are excited to share these stories with you and to give a voice to the victims worldwide.
If you enjoyed this story,
you can help us out by liking the video, subscribing to our channel, and punching the notification bell.
very important, don't forget to give us your opinions in the comments.
Thank you again, and we'll see you next time. Au revoir!
Au revoir!